note when you look at these pieces that accidents are a real part of how they come together. If a leaf lifts up and some of the white base coat goes underneath the leaf, it's not perfect in a sort of compulsive way. It adds a kind of ghostly uncertainty to it. It's allowable. It contributes to the artfulness of the work in total, I think. Also, there's actually stuff still stuck to those canvases. There's bits of leaf and thistle, and that too contributes, particularly when you get up close and you notice it. It contributes to really collapsing the distance between you and that thing that Andrew was trying to depict in the first place. Doing all of this, I think you can probably see this coming, is these are strategies that Andrew's using to try to pull himself out of the equation and get you, the viewer, closer to the experience or the aesthetic moment that he was enjoying when he made the piece. The next group of works that I'll talk about real quickly are the excavations. Quite different, and yet, again, I think you'll feel some of these ideas ring through. And what these are is, on a given piece of plywood hoarding, if advertising material gets pasted up over years and years, a layer builds, actually, and it can get very thick. It can get to be a half an inch to an inch thick, and it's just advertising material, ephemeral stuff that you would have walked by and ignored. Andrew has sort of harvested these off the walls of the downtown east side in Chinatown, and then using an X-Acto blade, he's gone in and carved various patterns. Now, in some cases, they're organic matter, like bamboo leaves, and there's lotus blossoms on the wall around the corner here. Very beautiful maple leaves there, as you can see. And in other cases, it's a more calculated geometric form, like this brilliant cut here, directly opposite. I think in terms of, I think there are a lot of tensions and oppositions going on in this work, which I just find interesting. I mean, I love the fact that this is advertising material. You know, it's something that we discount, we consider it to be crass and sort of anti-artistic, if you will. And Andrew, of course, has taken it, and by working it and processing it through his own imagination, he has been able to turn it into into these separate, beautiful objects. The other thing that really appeals to me about this is the way that we blow by advertising. We don't pay attention to advertising. It's not worth our attention. That's kind of what we all understand. And yet, these works are the product of superhuman attention. I know Andrew puts hundreds of man-hours into the creation of these, and they're very deliberate and they're very formal in the way that he develops the patterns. So through the process of him paying such hyper-vigilant attention to an object that we pay no attention to, something is completely new is created. I find that whole transformation to be one of the, it's a great emblem of sort of what's magically possible with art. I'm going to jump from that to the local photo posters because I'm a little punched at the time. But in some respects, this work here is the work that I respond to most personally because as I was writing my novel, which has street artists in it, Andrew had chosen at that point in his long project, and these linked projects that are about the same set of concerns, he had chosen to use the streets. So these posters began to appear in the downtown east side, not at this scale to begin with. I can sort of give you a sense of the progression. Andrew began by taking one-by-one photographs of various surfaces and textures, examples of urban distress, if you will, and then postering them up directly over the surface in question. So you'd walk down an alley, and you'd see this 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, which was a beautiful color photograph of some peeling paint, and that had been placed right over the peeling paint in question. And it started, it's like all these things, you don't notice them. In fact, you walk by quite a few of them without noticing them because they're so easy to miss. And then you notice one, and then you notice a dozen, and then you notice them everywhere. And Andrew's output was phenomenal. I mean, he's a huge inspiration on the level of just how much discipline can contribute to one's art. From the one-by-one photos that were just singles, very quickly a sort of a formal schema began to evolve. And the next thing that happened is Andrew began putting in fours. And the fours are kind of breaking apart the perspective to show you the object being photographed from just a medium distance. Here is sort of the photograph, this next one down here. And then he places the photograph in sight and takes another shot of it as if to remind you again of his role in all of this. I have taken this photograph, it is of this stuff here, and here's the photograph back in its original spot. And then a kind of final, there would be various ways to explain what this fourth frame does, but I always imagine it as a kind of a walking away. It's like the artwork is complete, I've done what I've done, the artist is present in this process for a period of time, and then after a period of time he steps away. This four-part layout was sort of the next big development of this idea, and he did it in portraits. There's some portraits on that wall there. He did it of urban textures, and he also began to do it of flowers. So there was a kind of a multiplication of Andrew's interest in this project, and as it multiplied and grew bigger and bigger, it ended up becoming this idea of the tableau. Now, in terms of Andrew's project that I described at the very top of this discussion, I would kind of say that this is getting to a sort of pinnacle statement of his concern and interest with the problems of perspective. Here we have photographs and of photographs in place, and people holding photographs. The whole thing is kind of radically broken apart, fragmented, and refracted image of many, many perspectives that ultimately Andrew brings back together to be one thing, not unlike in some respects the sort of the fragmented sense of a gem, which is nevertheless a single object, but it appears to have within it sort of shafts of light and bits of a great many other surfaces. So this work, I think, again, speaks to what I discussed at the beginning, which is Andrew's concern of showing his role in the production of this thing, encouraging us to understand or to appreciate and accommodate all of these radical and occasionally opposing perspectives that can exist within one object, and put together, as I say, it creates this one unified and fantastic object, which is so impressive. I think I'll close by just making one final point, which is more of a personal comment. The effect of this work, not quite at this size, but I think this is a little bigger than even the biggest one that Andrew put up in this neighborhood, but the effect of all of these smaller works going up around Gastown was quite distinct, and I was happy to be part of it, and it really informed my thinking about my own character, the street artist, because of how much people, as they were sort of turned onto it and noticed it on the streets and noticed what was happening, I think there was a really warm feeling about it among people who noticed it. Andrew was using the neighborhood as its own material, you know, literally the wall, the peeling paint is a beautiful thing in itself, looked at a certain way, but you kind of had to have Andrew take a picture of it and then take a picture of the picture and post it there, and do that a lot of times before your life was affected walking around the neighborhood and you started to see these things. And it was a very appealing part of the neighborhood experience there. Unfortunately, there's a lot less of it now because there was a pretty massive cleanup of our streets before the Olympics came through. But there was a time when there was a lot of Andrew's work around this neighborhood that belonged to this development. And I just thought it was a great contribution, and you felt involved with the production of art in your neighborhood. Yet another example in some respects of Andrew pulling himself out of the equation a little bit and kind of letting the art and the viewer meet one-to-one. I don't think I can add much more. It's been great to be able to give this talk because of how much fun it's been following Andrew's progression through these different expressions. And if you have time, I encourage you to ask him other questions directly. But thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.